Hey everybody, what is up? It's the Tominator here, back again, and this time we're going to be taking a look at the Arnold Classic 2018, the Classic Physique division. So once again, just like my 212 review, I'm going to show you footage from the prejudging and from the finals, so we're going to get to see both sets of comparisons. And yeah, so the way it went down is that Breon Ansley, the man in the center there, ended up prevailing. So he was pretty much the front runner for the show. He was my prediction, seeing as how he is the reigning Mr. Olympia in this Classic Physique division. That'd be like Phil Heath showing up at the Arnold Classic. He's going to be the automatic favorite. And so to no one's surprise, Breon ended up winning. Arash Rabar, the tall guy beside him there, ended up in second place. Courage Opara, the other black dude standing next to Breon, was in third. Danny Hester, second from the right, was fourth. And so those were your top four. Those are going to be the guys I'm going to be focusing on because it's, some of these other guys, to be honest, I'm just not that familiar with them and they didn't place that well. So I'm going to focus pretty much most of my analysis on the top four here. And yeah, so right away, look at this back double bicep. Look at Danny Hester, second from the right there, compared to Courage Opara. I mean, it is night and day between the quality of their physiques here from the back. And for that reason, I think Danny Hester kind of got a little screwed, having to settle for fourth. I don't agree with that. I absolutely agree otherwise with the placings. So I think that Breon was the rightful winner. I mean, look at the separation, the size through his thighs there, and he's got the most detailed back. So I would say he's the most complete guy. Arash was the biggest for sure, and he's got that height advantage. And the way that this division works is that they have different weight caps depending on your height. So a taller guy like Arash can get away with carrying more muscle than a shorter guy like Danny Hester. So he is going to outmuscle people out there. So the thing with Arash is he looks amazing from the side. Okay, so look at the side tricep. In the side chest, he's also very dominant. He just looks super thick. His pecs and shoulders look amazing from the side, as do his legs, but I'll talk about that again once we see him in the pose. And he looks great from the front, just standing relaxed. I would probably peg him as the winner. You know, when they're just standing like this, actually relaxed, not in a front relaxed pose, but just kind of hands on hip, waiting for the next call. Arash looks like the winner to me. Because he's got that really dominant structure, like the amazing shoulder to waist ratio, and he just looks very aesthetic. And I think that actually standing relaxed in this division, seeing as how they're focusing on aestheticism and bringing that whole thing back to bodybuilding, I think that actually standing relaxed should count for something maybe, because it is important what they look like, not just in bodybuilding poses, but just walking around, in regular daytime. That's how most people would see you. So I think that they should place maybe a little more emphasis on actually standing relaxed in this division. Because what's weird is that they don't place a lot of emphasis on the mandatory poses. And what I mean by that is they only seem to make them go through like 4 of the 8 mandatories. They get them to do the front double, they get them to do the side chest and the back double bicep, and the ab and thigh. And other than that, I don't know why, but they seem to skip over the side tricep, they seem to skip over both the lat spreads, and they don't make them do the most muscular. So I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. These guys are still bodybuilders, right? So make them do all the mandatory bodybuilding poses. The only one I can see them omitting would be the most muscular, because that pose was not made official until the early 2000s. It was actually, guys would do it before then, sure, but the judges didn't call for it. So if you go back and you watch the 2001 Mr. Olympia, that call out between Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman when they went head-to-head for the first time, you'll notice that the judges don't make them do a most muscular, and that's because it was not an official mandatory pose back then. So if we're talking about the Classic Physique division, if we want to bring back the Classic era, I mean, they should still do all the classic poses, so aside from the most muscular. So that's just my 2 cents. So I haven't been analyzing the poses too much because we're going to get tons of looks at them, right? So that's why I'm kind of just glossing through this and whizzing through it. But so Arash Rabar was second. You'll see here in the side chest, he looks like an absolute beast. I think he's murdering everybody. I mean, his chest is way thicker than Breon's. His shoulder looks better. Look at that deep split in his leg between the quads and the hams and that glute ham tie-in. He's easily the front runner from the side. But when they turn around, it's a different story. This is where I felt that Breon would make up some ground, and sure enough, he did just that. His hamstrings from the back are the most dialed in of anybody, so you can see the grooves there, and his back has the most detail. The only guy who's really hanging with him here is Danny Hester. But Danny doesn't have as good of hamstrings. He does have better calves, so they're just a little bigger, but Arash looks too smooth. He has a nice lower back. You can see in the lower lats there clearly delineated, and he has a bit of a Christmas tree, but he just doesn't have the same detail. And through the thighs, he's just lacking in sweep. Look at Breon's thighs compared to Arash's. He's absolutely crushing him. Arash has a slightly better set of abs. Breon's abs leave a lot to be desired. They just look kind of, I don't know, they look kind of washed out to me. He just doesn't have a clean split down the center of his abs, and they're just not very well defined, even when he's in good condition like he is here. So anyway, these were the top two. Let's take a closer look. This is still prejudging. They called these guys out alone to get a closer view and less distractions, less people to look at. So I think in the front double, I mean, it's clear that Breon's arms are better, but Arash overall is just so much bigger, and he's got that height factor. But from the side, I mean, once again, I just broke it down for you guys, and yeah, the side chest is Arash's pose. But from the back, Breon, I think, is going to pretty much whoop him. So let's take a look. You'll see that Breon's back has just so much more detail than Arash's. Arash, he has nice condition, and he's got well-defined traps and everything. He's got a great lower back, as I mentioned. It looks better than Breon's in that aspect, but the upper and middle back belongs to Breon, just because he's got way more detail and muscle maturity. And same with the thighs. Look, he's got some feathering and striations there. Arash doesn't have that, and they're not as neatly separated as Breon's thighs. And nor do they have the sweep. So Breon's killing him in the quads. He's beating him in the upper back. He beats him in the arms, I believe, although Arash's arms in that side tricep there look pretty good. So Arash is actually hitting the side tricep here, but that's his classic pose. So they get them to do a classic pose, and I thought that was kind of funny. Like, side tricep's not really a classic pose. I think that should be something that is non-mandatory, a non-compulsory pose, like what Breon was doing with the mantis pose there. It should be something like that. I don't think you should be allowed to hit an ordinary mandatory pose as your classic pose. So there's Courage Opara next to Breon. Haven't mentioned him too much, but I don't think he should have taken third. I really don't. I don't see how he beat Danny Hester. Danny Hester's physique is much more complete, much more mature. He's got better development in the upper body. I mean, Courage Opara had that little vacuum there, but to be honest, it wasn't that good of a vacuum. I mean, it's not like Chris Bumstead, you know? Like, just because you can hit a vacuum doesn't necessarily mean you should, because I don't really think the Courage Opara's vacuum is very good. It looks very triangular, if you know what I mean. It doesn't have that nice classic U shape, so I don't think he's well suited to do that. And look from the back. I believe I briefly mentioned this before, but we'll see it again right now. Just the difference in quality between Danny Hester's back, second from the left, and Courage Opara's back, second from the right. I mean, come on. This is like professionals versus amateurs, man. I don't know how the hell the judges saw fit to give Opara that third place finish. Look at Breon's back, though. Wow. So much quality. Arash's back just looks way too smooth and undefined compared to Hester and Breon. But he is bigger, of course. He's got the height advantage. He's got density. He's well defined, but he just doesn't have the detail. And they really, holy crap, they're making them hold this for a long time. These judges are sadists or something, man. Like, what is this? Like, we're going on 15 seconds or something? That is just ridiculous, man. You know how hard it is to hit poses and hold them for even 5 seconds, let alone like 15 or 20 like they just did? So you see what I mean here, how repetitious it gets when they only make them hit 4 mandatory poses. I don't understand that. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. I didn't actually realize that. I've never actually really paid much attention to this division. I've never really gone through in any kind of depth the comparison rounds. So this is news to me. I didn't know that they only seem to go through 4 mandatories, and then they do a classic pose, which is this right here, classic pose of their choice. So I think that the format's a little weird, and I don't quite understand it. I don't get what's so, like why they don't make them do the lat spreads, and especially the side tricep. The side tricep is a pose in which these guys with the narrower waistlines would really benefit, because that's really a weakness of a lot of these dudes in the open class now. When they hit a side tricep, the stomach just spills out, and it looks crappy. So these guys wouldn't have that problem. Look at Arash there; he's crushing it. So I don't get why they don't make him do the side tricep and even the lat spreads. Like, come on, what's going on here? This is still bodybuilding, is it not? So now they're just doing the pose down where they, they walk around, they get to hit whatever pose they choose and stand next to whomever they desire. So this is mostly for the fans, I think. I think the judges have pretty much already made their decisions. Yeah, so once again, Breon, then Arash, who's off screen, then Courage Opara somehow. I think he looked good, but I just don't think he measures up to Danny Hester. I think Courage Opara should have been 4th, Danny Hester in 3rd. But it was the other way around, so whatever. I'm not too upset. I would be kind of pissed off if I was Danny Hester or one of his fans, though. But at the end of the day, I think the important thing is that they got the winner right. And, yeah. To be honest, man, I think Danny Hester, he could have even been 2nd because he's the closest thing to a Breon Ansley out there. He resembles him most from the back. He's the closest in terms of having that complete development. And they're even a similar size. They have similar lines and shape and everything. So you could definitely make a case for Danny Hester being in 2nd, but surely not 4th. To me, that's a mild robbery. So I'm not sure what happened with the camera quality there. It kind of it dipped into low resolution, but it's back again. So anyway, guys, that's just my 2 cents. That's my breakdown of the Classic Physique division this year at the Arnold Classic. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, guys, I'm the Tominator, signing off, and I'll be back.